Hi guys, welcome to a recap of the game played in the round 3 of the FIDE Grand Swiss Open Section 2025 between Grandmaster Abdimalik of Uzbekistan against Nigerian Olisa Tennyson. Grandmaster Abdimalik opened with knight to f3, knight to f6 by Tennyson, c4, c5, g3, knight to c6. After d4, we have pawn takes in the center, knight takes, d5. Bishop to g2, e6. After castling by white, we have bishop coming over to c5. Bishop to c5 performed two functions where the bishop was developed from this square, vacate that square so that the king can castle the short side. Also add pressure to the knight on d4, supporting the knight here. So we have two attackers to this particular knight at the moment, just one defender, a queen. What to do? Grandmaster Abdimalik displayed brilliancy in this position by taking the knight away to safety and also counter-attacking that bishop. Bishop to e7, pawn takes, knight to c3. We have this pawn attacked twice, in fact 3 times, then defended just twice. How did Olisa Tennyson manage this situation? He went on to bring in another defender with bishop to e6. Knight to d4, he castles. Knight takes the bishop on e6. Pawn takes, we have b3. Bishop to b4, attacking the undefended knight. Bishop to b2. Queen to a5, adding more attacker to pressurize this knight on c3. Here, knight goes away to safety. In this position, Olisa Tennyson took time and thought through. Then he played b5. b5 attacks the knight. What to do? Grandmaster went on to counter-attack the bishop with this move, saying that if pawn takes, is going to take this bishop with tempo and opening an attack here, that pawn will be pinned. Then Tennyson will need to spend the tempo taking back the queen to safety, and he can continue from there. Here, bishop goes back to d6 for safety. After rook to c1, attacking the undefended knight. Here, rook on a to c8 comes up. Knight to c5, keeping the knight safe and under the defense of the rook. Bishop takes on c5. Rook takes. Here we have queen. Queen goes to that square to attack the rook. Undefended rook. Rook to c1. Knight to e7. We have rook takes the rook. Rook takes. Bishop to d4, attacking the queen. What to do? I am always referencing a friendly neighbor here, which is Stockfish 17.1 Lite here on this chess.com server. In this position here, engine suggests queen to d6 idea with bishop takes follows, pawn takes, queen d4. This queen d4 double attack this pawn here and this pawn here. Then we have just to capture one pawn by black side. However, in that, if we go back to the initial position here, as humanly as possible, Olisa Tennyson thought for a while and proved Stockfish wrong with Stockfish idea. Olisa Tennyson went on with a concept that attacks both this pawn and this pawn, which balances material on the board after a series of captures. And this is what he did. He went for an idea with queen to c6 instead of the d6 by engine recommendation. Here is the idea. He says, okay, if there's a capture here, you're going to play queen to c2, queen takes, then rook is now active here, and these two pawns too can be under attack after rook goes to c3. You know, that concept is valid just to take back materials. However, Abdimalik saw this and said, okay, there's another line here too Abdimalik saw that made him play what he played. Let me show you that line. That line is if bishop takes, rook to a8, attacks the bishop, bishop goes back to safety, let's say go back to d, for then rook takes this pawn is also a line too. So I think this line is more equalizing. It balances the situation, it holds the position. So that's why Abdimalik went on to defend the pawn first with a1 here, defending the pawn so that when it takes, rook attack, bishop comes back, this pawn is saved and he has extra pawn in the position. So Olisa Tennyson went on to display a beautiful understanding of the position. When the queen came to a1, he support the bishop to attack this particular knight. Bishop is already attacking this pawn. So the concept here is if he saves or protects this particular pawn, he's going to take this. Take the knight, pawn takes, queen takes, and the queen closer to the king is trouble. This knight is now under attack from this queen. What to do? This is where Olisa Tennyson defended this square, the knight, instead, leaving this to be captured with the preparation to bring queen into the game. Here, bishop takes the pawn on a7. Grandmaster Abdimalik gains 1 pawn in this round 3. Yeah, he gains 1 pawn in round 3 in this position, just as at move 24. Queen to c2, a great move. NG marks the great move because now you are doubling attacking pieces, trying to regain the captured pawn. From here, Grandmaster Abdimalik saw that okay, he left this undefended, he left this undefended. What to do? He wants to keep these 2 pawns connected so that they can contest for this or let's say the queen side majority during fight for pass pawn and promotion. So that's why he played b4 instead. Olisa Tennyson quickly grabbed his material back. This made GM to play rook attacks the queen. After rook attacks queen, queen needs to go to safety. Now the rook is very active on this semi-open file. Bishop here to g3 is coming. Pressure will be on that pawn. Well, Olisa Tennyson quickly kept the queen safe with queen to c2. Now, pressure may be on this pawn. How did GM want or plan to take advantage of this? This idea is valid, right? How would this idea be neutralized? If bishop goes to g3 now, what will save this position? It is well, I think rook can save the position, just putting one more defender, or even yeah, rook should do the work, because if rook does the work, bishop cannot take again, rook cannot take. There will be a defender to that point. So GM found a different concept with queen to e5 instead. Queen to e5 is treated strong here because now the pressure is queen takes pawn, then many things can fall. Queen takes pawn. This is even the main problem here. Queen takes pawn check, king goes somewhere, then queen takes knight. Deadly attack by Grandmaster Abdimalik. How did Olisa Tennyson neutralize this threat? Olisa Tennyson at this moment is the only non-rated player in this tournament. Playing Grandmaster Abdimalik, he has suffered defeat twice from 2 Grandmasters in the last 2 rounds. There's a particular game he lost with time. I think the second game also he lost in time and board. Now this time around he's trying to manage his time. So if you look at the clock by this side of the screen, he's on 40 minutes and 30 seconds. GM Abdimalik is lesser than him. So he managed time, managed pressure, and tried to regain balance on the board, because now Grandmaster Abdimalik is having the advantage on this board. So here, he went on to play queen to f5. Queen to f5 came in to defend the pawn and ask questions to the queen. Do you want to still stay on that square? Yeah. Abdimalik went on to attack this pawn on b5 with queen to e2. This is it. I looked around the board and saw only one continuation, and that is the condition that agrees with Stockfish 17 in this position. That is rook blocking that attack. Just beautiful. And that's exactly what Olisa Tennyson played in this position as continuation. Here, engine is suggesting move like f3 to come to the board, and many things could happen, still keeping the tension and maintaining the advantage. However, if you watch it very well, immediately this rook move came in, white lost some substantial amount of advantage, giving black a level of equality. So this position now, everything seems equal. Let's see how Olisa Tennyson will manage it from here and play on. Well, from this moment, I don't want to spoil anything for you. Olisa Tennyson was now playing the top recommended engine moves back to back. Check this out, against a grandmaster. That's just incredible. A titled player playing solid against a grandmaster with this kind of pressure on a tournament, in a tournament as strong as the FIDE Grand Swiss 2025. Well, watch this. After queen back to f1, the motive of queen back to f1 is to reinforce this attack. See, if this successfully lands here, this pawn is gone and there will be troubles on this board. The queen will just be left hanging around. Olisa Tennyson played the stop suggested move by Stockfish. Pawn push. Why? Bishop comes, pawn blocks, and bishop becoming relevant. Bishop has to come back to the initial square. That is what made Grandmaster Abdimalik played bishop to c5, attacking the ninth and putting the bishop where it will be useful, because the bishop on a7 was just useless there. Now knight to c6 comes up. You see? Then we have queen to e2. Queen to e2. Nice. E5 comes up. After e5, he tries to play f3. h5 comes up. These two moves were top recommended move by Stockfish, and that's going for the throat of the white king. Here, would certainly find it without even wasting time, trying to still keep up with time. On move 33, he went for Grandmaster went for rook to d1, with the intention perhaps to push this, open an attack on the bishop, check, open an attack for the bishop, check. He may even do it with rook, knight, bishop, then rook is falling, pawn takes, queen takes. Many things can happen there. So the threat is f4. So here, rook moves away, allowing queen to take the pawn. And the intention of this rook move will be unveiled later in the future. This is where Grandmaster Abdimalik took this pawn, attacking the ninth. Well, guess what? In this position, a non-titled player from Nigeria named Olisa Tennyson played a brilliant against the Grandmaster. And that move is rook takes the bishop on g2. This is astonishing tactical combination. Who does this? He's just playing at super GM level now. So king takes, queen check, bishop comes back, thinking he will leave this and still defend this. Well, Olisa Tennyson took the rook and the material became balanced here. Although Olisa Tennyson has the center and these pawns, how can he manage the situation? These two pawns are the threat in this position because they are marching forward. And if there is any way that black allows these pawns to march across this fifth rank, the pawns are gone. So this is what made Olisa Tennyson first of all secures his spot with g4. g4 is very, very daring, such that if pawn takes, this king cannot join the game. Queen check is coming, he goes back, then this pawn marching forward. Any of these pawns promotes faster than white pawns. We can have a checkmate in the background. GM Abdimalik went on to make a check first. King moves, so he can defend this particular pawn. The next check, he goes back, then Grandmaster Abdimalik puts the queen on f5, eyeing that pawn. What next? He wants to start pushing these pawns with wisdom. Maybe this first, followed by this and this and this, and distract the white king. Sorry, distract the black king. Then let's not forget, at this moment, queen standing on f5 pins the knight to the king, making the knight immobile and still keeping eye on this square. What did Tennyson? The Tennyson went for queen to e2. This move is saying he missed something. Although this is engine lined, but we want to keep it as simple as human as possible. You can run your own tactical check later for what he missed here. However, as human, he played this, and this is why he played it. He reduced the mobility of the bishop and is prepared to push this move. If he successfully pushes these pawns down, he's winning faster than Grandmaster Abdimalik. So here, pawn takes, pawn takes. He immediately replaces that pawn with the pawn there, and with the intention to push the pawns. With this capture here, now these two pawns becomes monsters. It is sure for these pawns to pass. Queen is defending the pawn, knight is defending this pawn, and it is sure to happen that these pawns will give Grandmaster Abdimalik pieces trouble. They are way closer to queening compared to these two pawns. What to do? GM Abdimalik went for b5, trying to distract the queen so that he will take this too. Well, Mr. Tennyson made a very nice safety move first with e4. This move is safety and at the same time aggressive. How? This bishop is pinned. If this pawn gets here under the defense of the queen, he can take this. Yes. And that's a man down for white. That will be a losing game for white. So GM went on with the great move queen to e5, allowing Tennyson to take this. Here, bishop to d4. Bishop d4, making the bishop free, supporting the queen, trying to take the knight and stir up an idea for checkmate. What did Tennyson do? Queen to e2 check, king to g1, queen to e1 check, king to g2, queen to e2 check, king to g1, and this game ended in a draw. This is how Olisa Tennyson of Nigeria, a non-titled player in this tournament, out of 112 grandmasters, 1IM, and himself making 114 players, he secured a draw against 1GM, and more is still coming actually. I just congratulate him for this effort. Good luck, Olisa Tennyson.